Because I'm working on this as one person. You should use two, because that's what the instructions say. Welcome back to Don's Life, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to continue to transform my GMC Sierra AT4 by swapping out the front bumper with DV8 Off-Road's super aggressive replacement bumper, and we can even add a winch. Let's go. So in partnership with DV8 Off-Road, we're going to continue to transform my GMC Sierra AT4 for more of that Overlander type look, Overlander light I'm calling it. If you didn't see the last video, we replaced the rear bumper with DV8 Spec series off-road bumper. I've since added some shackles. I think it helps complete the look. It's a super aggressive look. So far so good. Everything is working properly. The sensors are working, so that's a bonus. And we're going to replace the front bumper today. Now, if you watched my videos before, I don't always follow the rules, and I think this video is going to be indicative of that, and I'll tell you why. First off, I recommend anybody watching this video and doing this install that you follow the manual 100% because it will walk you through all the steps to get this replaced, but I'm not going to do that. I just feel like challenging myself for no apparent reason, and I'm going to share what that looks like today. Now I want to give full credit to DV8 for creating such a great instruction manual. Like I said, this will walk you through all of the steps properly to get the new bumper installed on your truck. But one thing has been bothering me is I just don't feel like taking apart the grille right here. We'd have to take off the grille. We'd have to take off this plastic area here to get to a couple bolts that are on there. There is another way to remove the bumper, which I'm going to try first. My only worry is I'm going to take off the bumper and then inevitably have to take all of this stuff off anyway. So I'm probably just going to make this harder on myself at the tail end of the install because I won't have all of this stuff taken apart, which we probably need to do. I'm not 100% sure. We're going to find out in this video and we'll decide on the best approach for you when you decide to do this install. So let's get into it. Now, to be fair to everybody, I think we have to have the same starting point. So I have a light bar right here, which I'm going to work at disconnecting that first, and then we'll be at the same starting point, assuming that your bumper is stock, because I'll be back in stock form once that's done. Another reason I don't want to have to take off my grille is because I have all this extra lighting in here. All of that is cable managed on the back of the grille, which means I have to undo the cable management, take off some of those lights, including this overlay, just to get all of this off. So you might want to opt to do exactly what the instructions say and take off all of these bits first and then get to the bumper. That might work out easier for you. It might actually be what I have to end up doing, but I'm just really trying to avoid having to deal with all this stuff right here. So that's a huge motivating factor for me to just try and get the bumper off and the new one on without taking off all of this here. So if it's a little harder at the end because of my choices, then so be it. Light bar is removed. We'll reuse that later on the new bumper. And now we can start with trying to take this off. Now there is a harness way up here on the back of the fog light. If you just follow this right here, you can reach way up here. Just keep following it. You could also undo the fender liner, which we'll probably do when we put it back together. And then there's a bunch of these tabs to undo. There's another one of these up higher. You won't be able to see it. Got it. There we go, got it. Now we should be able to pull this down a bit. We can see it, and I'll show you the end here. So here's what the end looks like. It's actually quite easy to do just with your hands. Just slide the lock back and pull it off. So next we'll back out all of these plugs so we can pull the wiring harness all the way back out of the passenger side. And then we're also going to deal with these bumper sensors. If you just gently pry the plastic that's retaining them, you can pull them out like that. And we'll have to save these retainers for later. Well, so far so good. Our harness is completely fished out of the bumper and ready to install on the new bumper, assuming we can put it on once this one comes off without taking off all that stuff. So next we just have a bunch of bolts to undo, and then we should be able to pull this off. Now my next tool is not my tool of choice. I do not have a 15mm ratchet wrench, so I'm gonna have to go old school style. So this part is gonna take quite a while. Now the part we're working on are these mounting plates. There are 3 50mm bolts. That top one we should be able to get backed out most of the way, that the threads won't actually hold on to this plate anymore. And the bottom ones we should be able to get out. But here's where I'd want a ratchet wrench, because it would be much easier to fit in this tight area here to work these off. I just have to keep repositioning my box wrench to work these out. Do yourself a favor and get yourself a 50mm ratchet wrench. Trust me, it was more painful for me than it was for you watching. But the good news is we are ready to go with just a few more bolts. First, we'll cut those cable ties, which you won't have because they're holding this fender liner bracket back a little bit to avoid rubbing with the oversized tires. Then we undo these 2 bolts. Now it's the same on the other side. We have the cable ties here holding back my fender liner. We have the 2 bolts here. And then you should support the bumper, because once you undo this 10mm here and the 10mm there, the bumper is going to be free. At least it should be. Well, we knew it was possible. We got the bumper off. There she is. We still have to get the sensor bezels taken out of there. Our harness is laying down here on the ground, but you can see it came off. The hardest part are these 3 bolts right here, the top 2 being absolutely the hardest. Now we'll just take off these tow hooks. Don, why are your tow hooks bronze? Well, you might remember they were red, but we put bronze hyper dip on them. They sure held up well. And this will just peel off when we want to go back to red if the stock bumper ever goes back on. Well, my friends, according to the instructions, we need to take off these crash bars. One there, one here. We have to take off these front fender supports. And then we have to take off this, our fabulous plastic belly pan, because we're going to replace it. Well, I think now we're at the point of no return. I don't know if you're like me, but I like to keep everything organized. As I disassemble it, I put everything in groups, so then that way when I go to store it, everything's together where it needs to be. I've already worked off my sensor bezels here. I guess I better keep them in order so I know which goes where on the new bumper. So we'll just get these set aside. Now, one thing you're gonna need to do with these little tabs, you're gonna need to shave them down. That little bump there is going to get in the way, because when we put it in the new bumper, they push in. The new bumper's too thick. They're not going to return to the outward position, and that won't leave enough space for the sensor. And over here we have our beautifully powder coated DV8 Spec Series off-road bumper. Next, we're going to put in the light bar. We're going to put in our sensor bezels, wherever they may be here, down here. One there, one there, one there, one there. And then yes, I do have a winch. So here's our winch, 12,000 pounds from DV8 Off-Road. We are going to mount it on the bracket. We'll do the wiring in a video after this one, but for now we just want it all fitted up, sitting right in the front bumper. I'm working on this as one person. You should use 2, because that's what the instructions say. It's going to be very heavy when we go to put it up in there. Winch is mounted to the tray, but you know we have to do it fancy like. We have this gorgeous upgraded fair lead from DV8. We'll go right in the pocket there, give it a much more finished look and appearance. So we have to do that first before we put the winch in the tray inside the bumper. Okay, the fair lead's installed. I tried to level it and make it straight using some squeegees just to add some equal spacing. I think it's pretty straight now. It's gonna get really heavy once you put the winch in there, so I'm gonna transfer it over to this dolly that I've rigged up. It rolls, it's on a wheel, but then we can elevate it and slide it under the truck. Once we have the skid plate installed, the winch, the side pieces, some cube lights, my light bar, it's gonna be quite the rig that we gotta slide in there. Wow, this thing's a beast. We got the light bar installed. It's got a little bit of a downward angle to it, so I think we're good there. If I ever need to adjust the angle though, I'm gonna have to come in through the sides and be very creative to adjust that screw there, because this will be blocked off. Our winch is installed. The wiring we'll take care of in a future video, but laying back here we'll have access to it, so we can take care of that. Skid plates installed. We have our parking sensors installed. You do have to shave those tabs like I said. I've also unclipped the sensors and already secured them in here, put some adhesive together just to hold them in there firmly. This is just the way I chose to do it, and these sensors aren't going anywhere, but if I needed to, I could remove this adhesive and get them out. It would just take a little longer. If you're wondering how to operate the clutch on the winch when this is all installed, well, they have openings on both sides so you can get to the winch on either side. We're so close to putting this on the truck. We have to add these foam gaskets next, which is for these extensions. I've got some cube lights here that I'm going to fit into those openings just so they're full. I'm not going to wire them up because I have some plans on what I want to put there permanently, but these will be sitting there so you get an idea of what that looks like. So let's get these done and then we can start getting this into position. Check out my contraption. We got some jack stands under some shackles that I put here temporarily. I had bought these for the rear bumper. They don't quite fit perfectly on the front, so I'm not going to use these on the front. I'll put them back on the rear. But for now they're on here just so I have the jack stands not able to shift and fall off from holding the front of the bumper up at the right angle. You can see where it has to clear underneath because we have to reuse those same bolts that we had undone before from the old skid plate. So it's already lined up. I haven't pushed it in all the way yet. We have to make sure the frame rails fit in these cutouts, and then we attach the bolts to those retainers right there. And once the bolts are started, we have a bracket to attach here to there. Now earlier in the video I talked about the benefits of not having to take off the grille because I have all of this lighting. However, if I did have the grille all disassembled, this would be a lot easier to put on because I would have had the wiring already clipped in. So now I have the daunting task of reconnecting all of my sensors. I just have tape over them right here so that adhesive could dry without pushing these out a little bit. So I'll take that off after. But I have to clip all of these in, which shouldn't be too hard, except I got to lay under here and fish the wires all the way down to that end over there. So I'll take care of that, and then we can bolt on the bumper. Okay, the wires are ran through, sensors are connected. I have to hook up the light bar still. I have a little bit of cable management to do now that everything's ran. You have these little spots for zip ties. They're all over the bumper on the inside, so that's really cool. I just wanted to show you how close we actually are to bolting this on. If we get under the truck here, we just have to run our bolts through these holes above where these welded nuts are. There's holes above there. The bolt goes through there into that threaded piece, and then we'll be able to start securing it and tightening it up. I can still access my winch and all the wiring, so we can do that in an upcoming video. Just look at all the space back here. It's crazy. And then if you follow the skid plate back, you can see we bolt up to our original holes. So this little dolly rig that I made with a tire, some 2x4s, some of this packing material, and these jack stands allowed me to do this by myself, but not recommended. Please use 2 people. Are you kidding me? It's going together very nicely. I have my jack here with a wrapped 2x4 up in this pocket just to push it up ever so slightly so I can make sure all of my gaps are perfect and it's perfectly centered. I'm really close. Now you saw that I hand tightened all of the bolts. Now I just have to secure them properly, trim our fender liner, plug in our light bar, and then I think we're done. We are done. We got the DV8 off-road Spec Series front bumper installed. Let's start with the fender liner because I took some liberties there and got a little bit creative. Normally they ask you just to slice this off all the way. I didn't do that. I cut it about halfway and then folded it underneath, used one of the original bolts, retained it there and just trimmed a little bit so it could tuck in here. Now it's not going anywhere and I feel it has a better look. Next we have our cube lights. I had these Oxbeam ones sitting around. They're a little bit too big. I'm actually going to put these ones in, my Strand Siberia cubes. They're a little bit smaller. They're gonna go in there and they're gonna match the light bar. But for today, we're gonna leave these in here until I get something else to replace those. Next we have our shackle mounts. These fit, except they stick out kind of like that. They won't hang straight down. So I'll probably get something else for the front here. Maybe I'll get some of DV8s. They've got different selections available, different colors. These will go on the back. Our winch fair lead is tucked in. I powered it up briefly just to make sure that's pulled in tight so it's not gonna rattle loose. Definitely get one of these if you get the winch because it looks better than just the chrome one with the regular silver shackle. If you don't know what this is, that's actually water because I tore my wrap getting a little too close with the pressure washer. I'm gonna remove the wrap soon. I keep saying that, but I really think that I am. And we're gonna go white for a while and then maybe we can pick out a different color. But that's just a war wound and it's not that terrible that I can really just live with it for now. DV8, please don't hate me for doing this my own way and not following your instructions to a T. Either way, we got it done and that's what matters. Again, the construction on this, everyone, is heavy duty plate steel. It is super solid, super aggressive. Everything I wanted in the transformation of this truck. If you're wondering about fitment, look how nice that line is. Sticks out just the right amount. No giant gaps. I even made sure to cut this so it tucked in right there. Details matter. Again, nice little touch from DV8. They got their logo right there with a piece of aluminum, I think, behind it. Our approach angle is definitely improved. Look at that. This is almost as high as where the bead is on the top of the wheel. It's crazy. I am planning on putting fender flares back on. We have all of our sensors here. I suspect everything should work properly. But what I think we need to do now is get it outside and get you some footage. Just like the rear bumper, I'm super happy with the front bumper from DV8 Off-Road. It's their Spec series. Definitely check out their website. I'll leave a link in the video description below so you can check out the front bumper, the rear bumper, some other accessories that they have. Again, use the promo code DONSLIFE to save yourself some money. And who knew that we could do this install solo, which I don't recommend. Use 2 people, but not have to take off the grille and some of the other things to get there. It does make it harder at the end when you try to fish all the wiring, but it's really not that hard, but you have to have some patience, which we know I have. So on that note, if you like today's video, hit that like button, please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.